I've talked about how incredibly huge Ptolus is. I've talked about how incredibly huge the amount of stuff is that you get with the book if you choose so to decide to pick up the book of Ptolus, the City by the Spire. I've talked about a sort of starting area in the name of Delver's Square that's kind of built into the campaign setting to help you flow into Ptolus as players and game masters. And now I want to talk about a collection of adventures for Ptolus, the City of Adventure. Hi there, fellow roleplayers and game masters. My name is Mr. Tarask, and today I want to talk about Ptolus, the City of Adventure, which is a collection of 3 full-length adventures for Ptolus, in Ptolus, and around Ptolus for 5th edition and the Cypher System. The reason I put so much emphasis on the word full-length adventure is because they are full-length adventures, and that's not something I'm used to from Monte Cook Games. For now, all of the books that I have, almost all of them have some adventures in them, but most of them will take you like 1 session, maybe sometimes 2 sessions. They're all very short adventures. The ones in here are actually full-sized adventures, and the 3 in here are all for sale separately on the Monte Cook Games web store. But if you can also buy them together in this book, which will set you back for like a little bit less money if you would buy them separate, and all of that stuff and everything you're used to. Now, the City of Adventure might be an incredibly good title for this, not for obvious reasons, as like Ptolus is a city and there's a lot of adventure, but because of the foreword by Monte Cook himself. Monte Cook himself has done a foreword for this book, and he talks about like how Ptolus is built around adventure, and I think he absolutely nails it. I read every foreword for every book I have. That's a thing that I love to do, and Monte Cook actually talks about how there's a difference in campaign settings, where some campaign settings came into existence by people playing in that campaign setting, and then those cults and those groups and those locations and those shops and those NPCs and those politics all were created due to people having adventure. And then there are campaign settings and worlds that are built for people to have adventure in, and they are built while people are just sitting in front of their laptop and building a world before there's even even one adventurer steps foot in that world. And Ptolus is the first one, and I really 100% agree with it that some campaign settings you can feel when a campaign setting has already been a world for many adventurers and many player characters for a while before it got onto paper, and it gradually came into existence while playing in it. And you can feel when you are playing a brand spanking new campaign setting, there's a lot of talk about stuff that went down in that campaign setting, but you can really feel the difference between those two. And that is why I really am growing into Ptolus as a campaign setting to put my players in. I really want to guide my players towards Ptolus. I'm still preparing for that. It really feels like a city that came into existence by many people who still work at Monte Cook Games, by the way, playing in and around the City of Ptolus. Now, what do you get for your money? Well, for around $30 US, you get this physical book with 3 full-length adventures in and around the City of Ptolus. Now, also, if you decide to spend $5 or $6 more, you also get the PDF, and all of these adventures are also available separately. Links in the description below. Now, I said it was compatible with 5th edition and the Cypher System. The bulk text of this adventure, like the biggest part of it, like everything you see here and the main stat logs and all of that stuff, are primarily written. For example, there's this stuff, there's a stat block right here, primarily written for 5th edition. If you decide to play for the Cypher System, the statistics of this creatures, which takes up this amount of space for 5th edition, will only take about this amount of space, only like this part of this amount of space for the Cypher System. So the Cypher System stuff, like the difficulty classes and all of that stuff, are all printed in like the sidelines of the book, so you can run it for both systems. Another thing they do, and I will go into the PDF where you can also see that, is they reference the Ptolus main city book, the big one, the one that is sitting right there. They reference it every time they reference it in the big bulk of text. They just give you the page number here like they do at Monte Cook Games. So you can expect the same quality, the same convenience that Monte Cook gives you with all of their books from Ptolus City of Adventure. So without further ado, let's take a quick look at the PDF. And here it is, everybody, Ptolus, the Rune Blood Blessing. And as you can see, this is an entirely different cover from this one. And that is because of the simple reason that I own this one in physical, but I don't own the PDF version of this one. And basically, the one you're seeing on your screen is one adventure of the 3 in this book. And I own all the 3 adventures separately in PDF. So I chose to show off this one for multiple reasons. First of all, the 3rd one in this book is not an adventure I see myself running. It's great. I read it cover to cover, but it's just not my cup of tea, just for personal preferences. But this one I chose because it is really well designed in a way that it's basically 2 different adventure scenarios, kinda, that seem to be tied together, but are not really tied together. And then there is one like payoff in the end, and there's a few incredible plot twists during the adventure. And as for urban encounter adventures, I really like taking my players to different places, finding out different stuff, putting the wrong people in jail, finding out they put the wrong people in jail, then trying to get them out of jail. All of that kind of stuff is something that Rune Blood Blessing, which is really weird to say, Rune Blood Blessing, is really great for. So, without further ado, let's just take a quick look at this. It's not like an entire walkthrough kind of thing. So, just like, as you can see in the beginning, they give you the synopsis, they give you all of that stuff here, synopsis, adventure hooks, they also talk about in the Ptolus big book, the big Ptolus city book, where you can find different information about different locations, NPCs, all of that stuff for this adventure when you need that. So that's the convenience of the Cypher system, right? You have this convenient system that has all references are in the text in another color, which is really handy, and then it is in the sidebar, like, hey, it's on that page of the Cypher System rulebook or of the Ptolus book and all of that stuff. Now, the main plot line of this, and then I will get into why it's interesting, is that there is a blessing, and there's this sorcerer who is asking a little bit of money, not like super high amounts of money, but he's asking a little bit of money, or they are asking a little bit of money for blessing people, and people are really getting in line to get that blessing. Now, a certain trade-off for that blessing is that you get kind of like a scar. I think they're right here, and like one of these scars basically on your cheek or somewhere on your face. In the art, it's always on your cheek, like you can see here. And you get that, but it gives you powers. The more you pay, the more powers the Rune Blood Blessing gives you. So the first chapter is magic for everyone. And the player characters hear about this, and it's all great. And maybe one of the player characters gets that blessing, the Rune Blood Blessing. But then in the next chapter, so they talk about, like, the first chapter, the rune popularity, what happens, how you can remove the blessing, and then they also talk about that there's people getting sick, like people are getting really weak, some start vomiting, and the sickness is kind of like different for everybody. It's not like one specific sickness, it's like people are just starting to get sick in all different kinds of ways. And it's basically because the Rune Blood Blessing has a negative effect, as you might, of course, already expected. So if you pay 1 gold piece, you get Mage Hand, Message, Minor Illusion, or Precipitation. 10 gold pieces gives you Expeditious Retreat, False Life, Featherfall, Long Strider, Silent Image, all the way up to level 3, where you get a Sanding spell. And there's no limit to the number of times per day a character can use their blessing. Unlike spells, blessings do not use spell slots to have rest requirements. However, each time a character uses their Rune Blood Blessing, they must succeed at a Constitution saving throw or gain 1 level of exhaustion. Furthermore, on any day that the character has a level of exhaustion, there is a 25% chance that later that day, the true source of the blessing drains a small amount of their life energy, which gives the character another level of exhaustion. On any day that a character has 3 or more levels of exhaustion, there is a 50% chance that the source draws their life force again within a few hours, and they gain another level of exhaustion. So this is something that it's kind of like the dark side of the Force, right? Where it seems very interesting at first. You can do some very powerful stuff, handy stuff, but the more you use it and the tougher you use it, the bigger the negative effect on it. Now, then there is chapter 2. Now, I will talk about the negative effect more in a bit. There is chapter 2 where there are a lot of there's a criminal spree in and around the city. There's all kinds of stuff going on. They talk about, like, I don't know, like stuff being stolen, and there's just a lot of like there's a murder, there's all kinds of different stuff going on. And the players might find or hear about some of the criminals that got caught or got killed by law enforcement or whatever. They have this scar. So the first thing, and my players will, if they're not watching this video, please, well, it's too late. I will not be able to play this adventure with you guys anymore. But anyway, my players will 100% fall for this. They will link the crime spree to this to this, what's it called? This thingy, the blasting. So they think the blasting has something to do with the crime spree, which indirectly it has. They think that people get evil or whatever and they start committing crime, but that is not necessarily what's going on. What's going on is that a lot of people are paying for this blessing. So bad guys who had a plan to rob a freaking bank for like a year also pay for this blessing, and they use those powers to rob that bank. So a lot of like criminals now get free space, but that does not mean that all people who have this blessing, who have this scar on their face, are bad people. Common folk are using it. Political figures are using it, mayors of certain districts are using it, innkeepers are using it to kick out people if they want to kick out people. So people are gaining these powers, and so do bad guys. So that's why I like the design of this adventure. There's this false, I don't know, the players will be like, oh no, they're all turning bad, and it's like super stereotypical. Like, there is this blessing, people get more powerful, but they're all turning bad, right? That's kind of the stereotypical thing to look at it. But then in chapter 3, so you can play these chapters kind of like simultaneously. They are presented into different chapters, but you can like play them off separately. Like, some of this stuff is happening and the players hear about some of this stuff happening in the background while they're investigating this blessing, or getting them this blessing for themselves, stuff like that, right? But then there is the shadow of Ptolus, and this is the greatest part. This is like the payoff of the adventure, where there is this evil sorcerer, mage, or whatever, I won't go too deep into this, who have created this semi-reality, demi-plane kind of thing. Their name is Gnar, by the way. And they, what they do is they gave this other sorcerer the ability to spread this blessing, and the sorcerer was, oh yeah, now I can make a little bit of money and spread this blessing, help the town, help the people, but also gain a little bit of money while I'm doing it. So they're kind of like innocent because they didn't know that there was more going on. So the players might have already like killed them or put them in jail before they figured this out, right? And this person has spread this blessing because every time somebody gains a level of exhaustion by this blessing, this evil sorcerer or this evil wizard or whatever you want to call it gains more power. They literally use this blessing to suck the magical energy out of people and put that like in themselves and in their kind of like citadel thing, demi-plane kind of citadel thing. They are building from that magical energy and that magical essence, if I'm making any sense. And that is the adventure. The adventure is a 3-part adventure that brings you all the way from, oh, there's this blessing, town square kind of gameplay. That's just a term that I use, town square gameplay, to like figuring out like this murder mystery thing going on, which is like really reminds me of that board game, Scotland Yard board game, where you need to like figure out who the murderer is and how everything is tied together, into a small-ish dungeon crawl. So this one adventure has all 3 of those things going on. It is urban, it has a dungeon crawl, it's an investigation, it has to do with magic, All of those elements are built into this one adventure, which, by the way, is 31 pages long if you get it separately. And that is why I really love the design of this. And it's one of the first times that I really read a like 3 longer adventures for the Cypher system, especially fantasy. I haven't read a lot of like longer form adventures, but yeah, this Sean Reynolds did and friends probably did a heck of a lot of a good job on this, and I cannot wait to get my players into Ptolus, because the Rune Blood Blessing will be the first scenario that I will be running for them once they arrive in Ptolus. So now that we have an entire city book, we have a starting area in the name of Delver's Square, and we have 3 longer form adventures that are perfect to pit your players against the raw and dangerous streets of the city of Ptolus. There's no reason for you not to pick up this city and tell me what you think about it. Until next video, bye bye.